Welcome back to a special edition of the Rock and Roll channel with a very, very special guest from near where I live, Hollywood MacArthur High School, Florida State University, Pittsburgh Steelers two-time Super Bowl champion, CBS sports analyst, number 8 on the field, number 1 in your heart, Bryant McFadden. Bryant, thank you so much for joining the Rock and Roll channel today.
Man, Jeremy, it's always a pleasure, man. Thank you for the invitation, man. I'm happy to see you doing big things in the media with your podcast. So it's a pleasure, man, to be able to join you today.
Thanks so much. And obviously, being an alumni, you're pumped up for this game. The CBS Sports is going to be on location in Tallahassee for the game. I'm going to come straight out of the gates. First off, they're doing some live shows, so please, Noel Nation, support them and let Damian Harris know where he's at. But what has stood out to you about fall camp? Good, bad, indifferent? What has caught your eye since now that fall camp is over?
Well, this camp has been a little different than what we've seen in years past because the media haven't really been able to really be the extra eyes and ears that we've had over the last few years because of the privacy, you know what I mean? And I respect that. I have no issue with it. But for some of the things I've heard from people close to the program, the defense looks to be very, very stout, disciplined, physical. Thomas has really looked like he has command over this offense. The tempo could be an issue for opposing defenses that we face. And, some of the young freshmen have really emerged to be potential big-time playmakers for this offense, which I'm okay with because I love seeing young guys come in and just kind of cement themselves into the program in year one. And it sounds like we have a few true freshmen that can really, provide big impacts, not just throughout the entire season, but starting Saturday against Alabama.
I mean, seven true freshmen were on the 2 deep depth chart yesterday. I can't remember the last time I've seen that. Now, that could be good or bad. For depth reasons. But when you hear they're, like you said, playing well, I always say the best players should play at this level. Anything on the offense that has stood out to you? You talked about Thomas and the tempo. Offensive line depth concern you at all? The running game I'm excited about this year. I wasn't 3 months ago. I think I am now. Anything on the offense?
Why are you excited about the running game?
Well, I like the size of Roydell Williams, and I like the size of Sawchuk from Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And I think Chroma could be a special type of back. Mm-hmm. Not good, but special. And Gus Malzahn is very good at drawing up the run game. It's what he does best. So if we can just block up front, the downhill running, I think, could be effective and pose some problems for Bama.
I'm right there with you. I hope so. And I hope our offensive line will be consistent. That's the thing. You talked about the running backs. It's not like we don't have talent in that area, but that talent can only go so far if the offensive line does what they're supposed to do. And doing that in a consistent rate is very, very important, especially week one when you're playing against a team that is very, very talented. And that defensive line for Alabama, they got at least legit 4 prospects, NFL prospects from that defensive line. You know what I mean? And maybe one could be a first rounder, based on as we see it right now. And who knows who else can emerge to improve their draft stock. So when you're going against potential pros, you got to be able to sustain a high level of play for 4 quarters to be able to be victorious. So it starts and it stops in the trenches on either side of the football field. And I hope you're dead on with your assessment that the running game can really be really fluid and good in this game against Alabama.
I don't know. I mean, that's big. If they can hold their own to help set up the passing game. I like the 5 starters in the offensive line. The depth in the offensive line worries me a little bit. When you have to have a guard as your third tackle option, that worries me a little bit. Maybe obviously with the first game, you overthink things a little bit more, and then you see what you have after the first game, and then you can make a more honest assessment. But yeah, I'm much happier because Oklahoma people were saying they didn't want to see Sawchuk go, which is nice to hear. Javon Boggs, when I heard he was going to be the third receiver going into fall camp, I was a little hesitant because I can't remember the last time we've had a true freshman really make major contributions at wide receiver. Maybe Rashad Green.
I think Rashad Green was probably the last freshman to start. And he started in an era where it wasn't 3 wide receivers in the starting lineup. It usually was, a 21 personnel, 2 backs, 2 receivers, a tight end.
Correct.
Now in this era of 3 wide receivers, and to your point, hearing Boggs is in the lineup, I've been hearing nothing but great things about him, man. And I really hope he can have that, Ryan Williams impact for us as a freshman. That Ryan had a year ago for Alabama. Heck, if I'm shooting for the stars, the Jeremiah Smith type of impact.
Oh man.
Like I said, stars with that one. But just hearing that he's in the starting lineup speaks volumes, of who he is as a football player. So let's see, can he get up to a good start? You know what I mean? Because that's an area of concern of the offense. I know some people are concerned about the depth on the offensive line, but I'm concerned about the wide receivers.
Yeah, and it's been a while since we've really been consistent at that position in general. 2023, they were good, but after Keon and some guys, it did drop off a little bit, Johnny and those guys. What I like about Boggs is we heard his name day one in spring, day one going into the fall camp, and he hasn't let up yet. It's not a case of maybe there were some injuries and he kind of worked his way in at the end. He's been consistently there since spring ball.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that, and he's the guy. Every time they ask an offensive player about who's looked good to you, his name comes up every time.
Yeah,
Deuce Robinson has said it. The offensive linemen have said that. So yeah, I wasn't too sure at first because it's been maybe Travis Rudolph did a little something as a freshman, but like we said, Rashawn Green on a big level. I'm excited for that. And we're a run first team, so if we can get that going, that's why maybe I'm optimistic there. I think he can really help us in the passing game. And Deuce Robinson's going to get double teamed, I think.
Yeah. He might not get double teamed week 1 because, it's the week of unknowns. So if he gets one-on-one opportunities, you gotta feel like he can win those said opportunities. Alabama has a talented secondary. A lot of their key contributors on the perimeter of their defense were freshmen last year. And those guys played a lot of football for them a year ago and played well, along with some of the up-and-coming new guys they have coming in as well. So some people feel like Alabama is the most talented team in the SEC. Some people feel like they're a top 4 in terms of talent in all of college football, top 3, depending on who you're asking. So I know they're showcasing a new quarterback, and Jam Miller is not going to be in the lineup, the running back, but they have talent. Like, I don't know how they were losing ball games last year. It didn't make any sense to me because the cupboard was not bare on either side of the football field when you look at talent.
No, they go beat Georgia and then lose to Vanderbilt. It was just a year we're not used to with Alabama. I think what worries me is we know Ryan Williams is a stud, top 3 receiver in the country. Their 2 and 3 are good. You got Horton, who was the number 1 at Miami, and you have Jeremy Bernard, who was on the national title team that went to the title game at Washington. Those are the guys, because I'm confident with Jerry Wilson at corner. Obviously, Williams might get you here and there. It's the second and third corners, and obviously that's your bread and butter. Football, but that's your trademark. How do you feel about the secondary going into the year?
I'm hype on Wilson as well. This is a game, me personally, I highlighted Jeremiah, getting ready for this game about his ability to cover Ryan and really put the entire nation on notice about who he is as a cornerback. He plays with a lot of confidence, and he's already taken control over the secondary as the leader, from what I've heard. To your point, outside of Jeremiah, what do we have? You know what I mean? Who is going to be consistent? You know what I mean? Especially in coverage standpoint. We got to get back to Florida State. I'm saying we need to get back to that level of high defensive back play. You look at what Ronaldo Green was able to do, Jerry and Jones were able to do, A.Z. Thomas was able to do. I mean, those are guys that played at a high level and they competed. You know what I mean? We had depth. So now let's see that depth surface. And what better way to showcase who you are is week 1 when you're playing against really, really good wide receivers, and one wide receiver in Ryan Williams, who many feel like he's a top 3 guy at the position in all of college football. So I'm really intrigued to see this secondary. Pat Surtain has done a good job coaching. He knows ball, and now we got to see the players go out and just do what they've been called to do. This is why you come to Florida State. This is why you come to Florida State. Florida State win this ball game, you kind of forget about how bad a year ago was.
Oh, yeah.
Instantly. If you win this ball game because of the value of what Alabama is in some folks' eyes, they believe they're one of the best teams in the SEC. clearly a playoff caliber team. If Florida State wins Saturday, Jeremy, they will, in ACC conversation, they're a playoff caliber team in ACC conversation. Hands down.
I mean, it's one of those rare times where you're Florida State. Alabama has everything to lose against us.
No question.
Yeah. A lot of Bama fans say it's the other way around. I don't think so. I think you're a 13.5-point favorite. You played a team that – we're not going to talk about the record last year. And Kalen DeBoer, 4 losses last year there is unacceptable in their world. So I think this is one of those rare times at home where you throw the kitchen sink at them because you got nothing to lose.
Yeah, you have nothing to lose, and there is more pressure on Alabama because they're supposed to win. When you're a 13.5-point favorite, you're supposed to win. If you lose, the Alabama fans are already uneasy with Kalen DeBoer. If you lose to Florida State on the national stage before you get into SEC play, it's going to get rocky, and it puts more pressure on him to right the wrong. And they have to win. And they still could lose to Florida State and still get into the playoffs. That still can happen. But their fans don't want to see that. It's not about, we don't want to see that. And for Florida State, for us, you win this ball game, the entire mindset of who you are as a program changes instantly. See what happened a year ago, Jeremy, and I said this. I think the lack of leadership showed up week 1 in Ireland against Georgia Tech, because when you lost to Georgia Tech in the fashion in which they lost, they never got over that loss. Georgia Tech beat Florida State three times, not one time, 3 times, because the after effect was still clearly circulating in the locker room. The very next week when we lost to who? Was it Memphis?
Boston College. Boston College.
And then after Boston College, Memphis came or something like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
That tells you there was a lack of leadership, in my opinion. I'm just watching because leadership gets guys back dialed in. Man, we let one slip away. Let's right our wrongs now. We don't lose to Boston College. We don't lose to Memphis. No. So let's see how this game fizzles out, regardless of win, lose, or draw. What happens the next week? Because if we win to this hypothetical, what happens next week? Well, clearly we got a warm up game next week, so it shouldn't be a letdown. But who knows in college football? But we got to get through this train first and foremost on Saturday.
That's a couple things, because if we can get by this, you have 2 games after that to really correct your mistakes before you get into ACC play.
Yeah,
which its schedule actually works out really nicely in that regard for us. But that would also, even if we win this game, these new coaches can say, "See, look what happened when you did what we told you to do."
Yeah, you know what I said, Jeremy, before fall camp started. I said the most important game for me in the season is the Virginia game.
I agree.
Okay, and hear me out. Hear me out. This is why. Yes, Alabama is very, very important. And we're hoping that we go out and take care of our business. But hypothetically speaking, now hear me out. Hypothetically speaking, if we happen to lose the Alabama, of course they're a 13.5-point favorite. They're supposed to win. The following week, you get a layup. You get back on track. I think the 3rd game is Virginia, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. 4th game.
So you got 2 layups before Virginia.
Right? East Texas by Kent State. You got 3 weeks to really figure things out.
So now in the 4th game, you go to UVA on an odd night. I think it's a Friday night game.
Yes.
Right?
Who's had a bad fall camp?
Yeah. ACC play, regardless of what happens against Alabama week 2 and week 3. You win against Virginia. The following week, you got Miami. Now you're going into Miami week with a lot of confidence, regardless of what happened week 1, right? Regardless. If you lose to Virginia, you already got an ACC loss. And now you have a Miami team, regardless of what happens with them, they're coming in feeling pretty good. That's why I feel like regardless, Alabama is super important, it is. But Virginia is important also, in my opinion. Because if you beat Alabama, you beat the 2 cupcakes, you don't want to have a letdown against Virginia.
No. With Miami.
You don't want to have a letdown. If you beat Alabama at home, you shouldn't have a letdown against Virginia, regardless of wherever you're playing Virginia, what night it is. It shouldn't happen.
No, I agree. And Miami's got a bye week the week before us. So that's something I say you can't let up in that. Even if you beat Alabama and lose to Virginia, it totally deflects in the Alabama game. because then you're 0-1 in the conference with Miami ahead of you.
Yeah.
That's why you got to look at the big picture this year. I mean, you are, obviously. But that's what I'm saying. That Virginia game really sets the tone for the season, even more than Bama games. Obviously, Bama, you want to play well and send a message, but it doesn't determine your season like Virginia does.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And let's say, worst case scenario, we lose to Alabama. It puts more pressure to beat Virginia.
Yes.
It puts more pressure to beat Virginia. So regardless, that Virginia game is a pressure game if you beat Alabama or if you don't beat Alabama. Because Virginia's not going to be a really, really good team this year. It's not. They're not. They're not. I mean, I'm just keeping it real. They're not.
I've heard the reports.
Anything can change between now and that game, but as we see it right now, Virginia's not a good team, but they could be a good team. But regardless, that's a game you cannot lose. One thing I know about football, any level, Jeremy, good teams beat the teams they're supposed to beat.
Correct. And teams win games they're not supposed to win either.
Yeah.
You get some turnover luck, you get some penalties, you get something. I mean, how many times has Florida State had to take a team's best shot who every other game you watch play doesn't play well? So that's something. So obviously you played for Mickey Andrews, the GOAT of college football, DBs, coaching, and defense. You played for Dick LeBeau in the NFL. Tony White's defense, I know it was a Rocky Long defense, but obviously you played for Dick, who invented the 3-4. How have you probably watched film on Tony? You saw him what do you think he's bringing to the table as a DC that Noel fans should look for?
So you know why we were so dominant in Pittsburgh running a 3-4 for such a long time is because we had 3-4 personnel that was brought into the organization to play that defense. Right. They were scouted, they were assessed, they were dissected to see if they can fit what Pittsburgh has, what they've run the entirety, it seemed like forever in that defense. So we drafted players accordingly for that. When you look at the 3-3-5, you're dealing with three-man front, right? It's an odd front. Two things you need to know for sure. That nose got to be a hellraiser. He has to be a hellraiser, right? And I don't know in this on-mat front, I don't know if they're two gapping or what the case may be, but if they're two gapping, he got to be a hell of an anchor. That's number one. Your two ends, they gotta be physical and they gotta be finessers. What I mean finessers, sometimes that double team might get on them between the guard and the tackle. You got to be able to split. You got to be able to get to where you need to go, cross their face quick. You got to be able to do that. See, one thing about our system in the 3-4, our ends was actually defensive tackles that were athletic. So we're talking about our ends was anywhere between 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", 290-ish. That's our personnel. So when we had a three-man front, where whoever was playing the 3 technique for us could easily be, a 5 technique if need be. Could be a 3. Could go to the nose guard depending on the situation because they were big bodies and they were strong. And then what made our defense just complete was our outside backers was more athletic defensive ends because they were 6'3", 6'4", 260-ish, 265, could run. So now in this system, which we will really get a real good indicator about the 3-3-5, because I know mostly offenses are spread and they're just thrown around. But every now and then, Jeremy, you're going to get offenses that are going to try to come down the teeth of your defense. And I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Alabama do that, especially with Ty Simpson making his first start.
You can bank on it. They're trying to leave with a win. They're not trying to be fancy.
Yeah, making his first start, even without Jam Miller. If I was an offensive coach, I'm gonna see if this personnel can hold up in this formation. I'm running straight down the teeth because they have a nice size offensive line, and I'm gonna tell my tackles, if you got a 20-pound mismatch or whoever it is lining up in front of you, got a 30-pound mismatch, you got to win those battles. So the 3-3-5s when they work, they work. When they don't, they don't. So it's almost like there isn't an in between. There's not a gray area. It's either white or black.
That's true.
Either it's gonna work or ain't gonna work. Ain't no in between.
And you can't make mistakes in the secondary in this defense. But that's the thing is you're gonna double team Darryl Jackson. Like I expect that.
Yeah. And Jeremy, another concern that I have with the 3-3-5 is what happens if my backers are not clean. And what I mean when I say that, viewers, what happens if the offensive lineman, if that guard, if that tackle, if that center gets to the second level and he covers up that backer? Can they get off the blocks? Because what helped us, and I'm just talking about my experience with Pittsburgh in the 3-3-4, what helped us be so dominant, our Mac, and our Buck, who were our two inside linebackers, they were always clean. The reason why they were clean, our front did not allow them to get touched. That's why our front didn't make a lot of plays. They weren't penetrators. They were two gappers, but they clogged up the offensive linemen so they didn't get to the backers, and the backers could flow in the running game scot-free to get to wherever the football is. When those backers get touched, sometimes they can't get off blocks. That's when the running game gets rolling, because that running back ain't getting touched until he gets past the second level.
Yeah, and the reason I asked you that is because how stout your defenses were and the backs you went up against. And I watched that video the other day where you were in a restaurant with a bunch of your former teammates talking about those big running backs you went up against. The Jamal Lewis's, the Brandon Jacobs. I know I'm missing about 5 others. I think that's what we're facing on Saturday. Big running backs, a stout offensive line, and can our backs get off clean? Now, they have the jack position here, that makes it a little different. I'm not that familiar with the position, and Coach White didn't really want to specify how that position works. Are you familiar with the jack position in 3-3-5?
I'm not familiar with how it's going to look for us.
Okay.
And it seems like that jack position is like a linebacker version of a star, right, in the secondary. And the jack position for us, if I'm not mistaken, Jeremy, is Omar. I think he is. Omar Graham is the jack position, who was an inside backer for us. So, I'm really intrigued to see how this thing play out. But for us, the 3-3-5 will only work if the defensive line do what they're supposed to do.
Correct.
It will. But like I said, when you watch the game Saturday, viewers that are watching us, let's see what we do against the running game for Alabama. Because if I'm Alabama, this is a new system. I don't know if this personnel has adjusted to this new scheme. There's no need to get cute. We don't need to put lipstick on a pig. For what? No, we don't need to get cute. Let's run straight down. Let's simplify and run straight down, and let's see, can they uphold?
Yeah, and even if so, we do have some depth concerns on the defensive line. Maybe the first group holds, but the second group comes in, they have trouble, and you wear down the first line. That's what I'm worried about going into the game. So we talked about that offensively, Gus Malzahn. What's your impression of him? What do you think Nole fans should expect from Gus Malzahn?
I think my expectations is we should be able to run the football, right? There's always been his calling card as an offensive play caller going, especially in Alabama. Now, he didn't have the same success running the football like he did at Alabama, but he had success. R.J. Harvey ran the football well last year for him at UCF, you know what I mean, who's currently playing with the Broncos. So that's what I'm banking on, because if you can run the football, you have balance. You have balance, you score points. You score points if you have balance. If you can set the tone at the line of scrimmage, that will open up running lanes for whoever's running the football. And let's see, Thomas needs to be a +1 in the running game. He has to. That's what he does. Like either quarterback design runs or improvising on the fly. He has to be a +1. The reason why +1 quarterbacks are so impactful in this age of football is because when you play a quarterback and he's a +1 in the running game, it's like defending 12 instead of 11.
Right.
Because your quarterback is 2 and 1. As a defender, we're only taught to scout and defend 11 guys. When that quarterback becomes a +1 running the football, QB design or improvising, that's an extra guy that we can't account for because we only have 11.
Exactly.
That's why you see this era of athletic quarterbacks taking off and soaring to new heights, because it's hard for us as defenders to account for those guys. And that's what our quarterback has to do. I'm not saying just take off and run all the time, no, but let them know at any given time you're going to have to account for our QB. And that's going to give you something extra to think about. And he needs to be an extension in the running game, in my opinion.
No, I agree, because right now we have depth issues at quarterback, or uncertainty, not depth issues. obviously Alabama, you have to throw the kitchen sink at them if you're going to beat them as a +1, like you said. But after that, do you limit the amount of RPOs and runs you allow him to do to try to preserve him the best you can?
No, ain't not. But we're trying to win.
True.
We're trying to win. Like, forget all that. We're trying to win. This is if you want to improve your draft stock, this is what you want.
Yeah,
this is what you want. If you want an opportunity to earn respect in college football, this is what you want. So whatever it takes for us to win, let's do it. Let's do it. Look at Jalen Milroe a year ago for Alabama.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't the best thrower of the football. He made timely plays, but what really got him going in that offense, his athleticism.
Yeah.
His athleticism. We have that same type of guy on our offense in Thomas. Let's go. Who has an abundance of experience, by the way. Yeah. And that's the key thing I'm watching. You talk about offenses, Jeremy, folks.
Yeah, of course.
Ty Simpson cannot outplay Thomas Castellanos. Can't happen.
No.
Can't happen. If that happens, we won't win.
It could get ugly then.
Ty Simpson cannot outplay Thomas Castellanos. Ty Simpson is making his first start on the road. Thomas has started a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in college football longer.
Yeah. No, that's a great observation. I understand Ty's going to have some more weapons to work with.
I can care less.
But I don't care. I don't care either.
No.
He doesn't have his legs. At least Tony knows he can pin his defense's ears back and go after him.
Yes. You make this man look like he's making his first start. He's not starting in Tuscaloosa. He's not at home. Correct. He's on the road. Fans need to make that environment Saturday difficult. Trust me. When I was there at Florida State and when that fans was rolling, it helps us. It changes the energy, the morale. We feed off the noise. We feed off seeing the opposing offenses become annoyed with the noise. Like, you cannot allow Ty to get comfortable at any given time. First quarter, we got to rattle him. Like, first quarter, I don't want him to feel like, oh, he can come in our house and put his feet up on the table because he's getting comfortable. No, I agree, because I want that to happen because they have a new running back. Now, granted, they have guys who can run the football. We know that. It's Alabama. But Jam Miller was their experienced back. I want to put some pressure on them, like you talked about, where the crowd noise can affect the cadence with the new running back and he misses a block and frees up one of our DNs. Crowds can cause mistakes. You know how that goes. Yes.
Yeah. So that's something that really hasn't been taken into account that much. With a new running back, is he gonna miss some signals? That's what I hope for.
I'm right there with
you. Huge on that. You talked about when you played at Florida State, man. Can you name like one or two games that you still think about all the time that stand out in your head?
Man, the game that stand out to me at home was my last game because it was my last home game against Florida in 2004, and we lost. Yeah. We should have won that ball game. It was a back and forth affair. We really played good football. Our defense was unbelievable. And the way we lost and losing to Florida definitely sucked. I think that played a part in us missing a BCS bowl. If I'm not mistaken, we ended up going to the Gator Bowl. But that was my last time to compete with the guys that I was there with in Tallahassee for so many years. You know, one last time in Doak Campbell. The guys I played with on the defensive side, the guys I played with on the offensive side. And that Florida game was a really, really good game. But just losing that last game in Doak, my last time ever playing in Doak, definitely was a sour moment, you know, that actually felt like it was going to be a good moment. But just the guys I played with, man. And what people don't talk about enough, I think for us, my senior year in 2004, because we weren't a national championship contender, was how good our defense was. I think we only allowed 10 touchdowns. Someone can do a stat check when you watch this. I know there's a lot of folks that are watching us now that definitely indulge in stats. But if I'm not mistaken, that 2004 Florida State team, we only gave up in the regular season. I think we played in 13 games. We only gave up 10 touchdowns. 10 touchdowns. And now let me break down the pros that was on that team, right? Let's start on the defensive line, okay? Defensive line. Travis Johnson, first rounder. Broderick Bunkley, first rounder. Cam Wembley, who didn't start, first rounder. Eric Moore, 5th or 6th rounder. Chauncey Davis, 4th rounder. Clifton Dixon didn't get drafted because he had some other issues, but he was a potential first rounder. Fans out there. Right. Andre Fluellen, 4th rounder.
Yep.
I just named, that's just the defensive front.
That's the D-line.
And I'm missing a defensive end. I'm missing someone. So when you guys watch this, let me know who I missed. I'm just rattling off the top of my head right now. I'm just rattling off the top of my head. So now we go to linebackers. Buster Davis, 3rd rounder. AJ Nichols, 4th rounder to Cincy. I think AJ was a 4th rounder to Cincy.
Yep.
Ernie Sims,
there we go.
1st rounder. Lawrence Timmons,
first
rounder. Sam Magoo didn't get drafted, but he had a heck of a career. Marcelo Church, he was in Pittsburgh with me his rookie year, so he wasn't drafted, but he made the team. So
he was all special teams.
And and Church would have played longer with us in Pittsburgh until he tore messed up his hamstring. So that's the linebackers, and I might be missing a name or two, but help me out. In the secondary, you had me. I was a 2nd round pick. You had Pat Watkins, who was a 4th or 3rd round pick. You had Jerome Carter, who was a 4th, I think. You had Antonio Cromartie, who was a 1st. You had Leroy, who made camp with Chicago. And you had BJ Ward, who made Baltimore, made the Ravens team. And I might be missing some guys.
I know it's going to come to me as soon as we finish this.
But we talking about pro after pro after pro. Like we were. But people don't talk about our 04 defense because you don't, when you ain't compete for a championship, you kind of get lost in the shuffle. But I think we only gave up 10 touchdowns.
10 touchdowns. Yeah.
And I think, Jeremy, 6 was passing and 4 was rushing. How's that even possible in 13 games?
And remember, that defense lost Darnell Dockett from the year before. And we lost Dockett the year before. We lost Kendall Pope the year before. We lost Michael Boer the year before. We lost Jeff Wombley the year before. Like, we lost a lot of guys. And that team that I just named, how many first rounders on that defense? Cam, Travis, Bunkley, Ernie, Lawrence, Cromartie. We're talking about that's 6 first rounders. Yeah. And three or four were backups.
And three or four were backups.
No, I remember because that Miami game, first game, you held them to 3 points. I don't care about the overtime.
Man, we were
game. They couldn't get past the 50.
I don't know. And like I said, for folks that are watching us, fat stat me, check the stats, fact check, whatever. I don't know if that's ever been done in 13 games, only allowing 10 touchdowns. That's like a touchdown a game, basically.
Yeah, that Virginia team that was averaging almost 30 points a game when they came into Doak that you guys
couldn't get nothing. Saturday night, 8 p.m. kickoff. Yes. They were 3, we were 5. The first time ever Virginia Tech came into Doak, Campbell ranked higher than us. We took that game personal. Yeah. Hands down.
Opened up the game with a block punt on a safety.
Yeah. Like our defense was listen. It just confuses me that no one really talks about that 04 team. And we've had a lot of great defenses, no question, before 04, after 04. But if you're talking about numbers, like in 13 games, we only gave up 10 touchdowns. We're supposed to be undefeated.
I agree. That's why I'm so glad we're talking about it here, because that team does deserve its flowers, that defense. It was unreal. So, man, I promise we're almost done. I promise. CBS Sports is going to be in Tallahassee for the game.
Yes, sir.
I'm pumped about it. Anything you want to talk about that?
Man.
Promote the brand.
Oh, no question. We're going to have a live setup outside the stadium, closer to on that side where the fountain is. We're going to be there from starting at 9 a.m. until kickoff. Myself, Danny Cannell, Florida State great, of course. Damian Harrison, who played Alabama. AJ McCarron, who played at Alabama, along with a lot of other guests. who's going to be joining us as well. I think Jordan Travis is going to join us also on set. Man, we fired up. I was already fired up, but when they told me I can go ahead and get on the desk there and kind of really let it be known what's about to happen, man, listen, man, we're going to have a DJ. We're going to have crowd participation. We're going to have crowds, people, fans asking us questions, getting on live TV. If you're going to be there, if you're tailgating, come through where CBS Sports setup will be. It's going to be jumping. Like I said, we have a live DJ. We will get it cracking, and this is the best way to get fired up, even more fired up about what you're about to see, along with having guys like myself and DK who are garnered in gold through and through. And we got to be professional, but no question, it is what it is at this point. Y'all already know where I'm coming and where I'm going. So, yeah. And make sure when you listen, be as drunk as you can be possible. I don't care. We need rowdiness, bro. We ain't in Stroger Library. Dope Campbell is not Stroger Library on the green. No, man, be disrespectful, be loud, man. It goes a long way. Trust me. I
agree, man. I'm pumped. I'm going to put a link to that tailgate, or not tailgate, that live show in the description. So Noel fans in Tallahassee, show up. I'm going to tweet about it. I'm going to be there vlogging for my channel. So I'm pumped. You got me more pumped for the game, VMAC. I knew you would. Excuse me, Bryant McFadden. But you got me more pumped for the game. I can't thank you enough for coming on, my friend. You got me.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Hey, man, keep doing what you're doing, bro. I'm always a call away. It doesn't matter. And keep doing what you're doing, man. And like I said, Florida State, let's go. Like, let's go. Like, for real. No, don't come. No, don't be. This ain't a library. We ain't in class. Get there early, and let's go. Let's cheer these guys on and make sure they feel us and they hear us. That's it. That's all we can do. Is
get their tails off this fall camp. So there's no special place like Florida State. I don't care what anyone says. Nation's going to see 3:30 primetime spot, in my opinion. I don't care. Let's do this. They didn't want to send Corso there for his last game, but all right, BMAC and Danny Cannella are going to be there. Good enough for me. Thank you so much. You got me more pumped. More stuff to come on the Rock and Roll channel. Check out CBS Sports. Bryant McFadden is there breaking down that game. He'll be breaking down the Ohio State-Texas game. He'll be breaking down LSU Clemson. He does amazing NFL coverage. You can see his coverage from training camp. He had a great session with Jared Verse and Braden Fisk when he went to Rams training camp. So thank you for tuning in. A lot of you were there here, and I appreciate it. Hey, I'm going to end like this. Go Noles, baby. Go Noles. Thank you, Bryant.
Appreciate you.